are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
And Caitlin Clark in the face, and then there was a little spat between the two of them, and then Marina Mabery comes out of nowhere, shoves Caitlin Clark to the ground.
Like, if you see a joke on your name, turn it into try to turn it into a positive thing, and then try and monetize off it.
Caitlin Clark is getting blitzed every single minute of every single game, and the refs are letting it happen. Rebecca Lobo's powerful statement is shaking up the WNBA. But why does this brutal strategy go unpunished? And what are the shocking consequences for Clark and the entire league? Let me break it all down for you. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine this. You're Caitlin Clark, walking onto the court every game knowing the defense is waiting to trap you, push you, bump you, and none of it's getting called. That's her world right now. Double teams, full court pressure, hits off the ball. Clark faces some of the most brutal defensive strategies we've ever seen at this level. And according to Rebecca Lobo, the refs are letting it slide far too often. Lobo went as far as to call Clark the hardest player to officiate in WNBA history. Why? Because the contact never stops. It's beyond physical, it's downright relentless. But here's the thing. It's not just happening by accident.
The referees didn't do their job, and because they didn't do their job properly, all of the extra things happened during the game.
Is Sophie Cunningham the next Marina Mabery? Is she dirty, intense, or just irritating?
Flagrant 2 comes from a standard fine. Additionally, Sophie Cunningham was fined separately for her hard foul with 40 seconds left to play.
Lobo pointed out something that might shock you. Coaches are actually telling players to push the line as far as they can. Why? Because they know the refs won't blow the whistle every time. No one wants a game slowed by constant calls, so the refs let a lot ride. And that's where it gets dangerous. We're seeing defenses intentionally ramp up the aggression, knowing they'll rarely be penalized. Think about what that means for someone like Clark, who has the ball in her hands more than almost anyone else, all while being the primary focus of opponents desperate to stop her. You don't have to look far for examples either. Look back at games where Clark's frustration boiled over. You could see it in her body language. Hands thrown up after another no call, visible irritation with what would be obvious fouls in any other league. Stats back it up too. Over the past season, physical play across the WNBA has noticeably increased. Ratings for fouls have steadily dipped, while the number of hard screens, body checks, and obvious bumps has climbed. It's a trend, and Clark just happens to be in the middle of it. The scary part is, Lobo was quick to point out, this isn't just targeting Clark alone. It's a systemic issue.
A lot of fans were really upset about this because if Marina Mabery's foul during the game was called a flagrant 2,
It's one of those things, if you look at the women's hooping page, the two most common people for fighting are Marina Mabery and Sophie Cunningham.
the whistle, if she would have been ejected at that point in time, I think it would have set the tone for the rest of the game. The refs did not have control over the players. They did not have control.
One that affects the rhythm of games across the league. When refs let them play, it doesn't just favor aggressive defenses, it punishes skilled players who thrive on clean looks and precision. And the longer this goes unchecked, the more it distorts the integrity of the competition. But Clark isn't the only one at risk here. This says a lot about the future of the league itself. When the aggression on the court goes unchecked, the results can be ugly. Gabby Williams didn't hold back when she spoke about the real toll of excessive contact, calling out how dangerous it's become. Hard fouls, reckless plays, and even things like accidental eye pokes are piling up. These aren't isolated moments. They're game after game, hit after hit. And when the officials stay silent, players pay the price. The question isn't if someone will get hurt, it's who's next. Courtney Williams has voiced similar frustrations, And honestly, can you blame her? When defensive chaos becomes the norm, emotions on the court explode. Teammates scramble to protect one another after a rough collision. Opponents get into heated arguments when things go too far. The energy shifts, and it's not about basketball anymore. It's survival. That's the kind of environment inconsistent officiating has created.
Because the girl comes back, she does a thing, 32 points, 55% shooting, 7 to 14 from three-point range. I want to know, in your estimation, where do you rank her as a shooter?
Steven, it's funny because I was listening to your last segment where you were talking about Steph Curry and you said he's the greatest shooter God ever created. On Saturday, Caitlin Clark certainly looked like that for the WNBA.
Without control, games can spiral out of hand, and players are stuck navigating both their opponents and the risk of injury. And let's be real, it's not just theoretical. This is already playing out in real time. Look at Gabby, who's dealt with her fair share of physicality, or Caitlin Clark, who's dealing with this relentless targeting game after game. Every aggressive body check or unchecked foul adds up. Extended time off the court, long-standing injuries, even the possibility of careers ending too soon. It's all on the table if this trend continues. That's why Rebecca Lobo's proposed solution can't be ignored. She's talked about the need for stricter whistles and harsher penalties, like more frequent flagrant foul calls. What this could do is shift the game away from brute force and back to skill. It would create space for stars like Clark and protect players from unnecessary risks. Not to mention, fans would much rather see athletic moves and clutch plays than constant collisions and stoppages. But this isn't just about safety, it's about the WNBA's reputation too. Are fans going to stick around if the games feel more like wrestling matches? The league needs to act now, or they risk losing both their stars and their audience in one careless sweep.
Second favorite right now in MVP, right behind Nafisa Collier. You know, last year she was the best guard in the league. So, you know, in terms of the context of the history of the league, time will tell. Kind of her legacy continue to grow as she has more performances like we saw on Saturday. And again, time will show how long is it going to take her to get that Indiana Fever team to a WNBA championship.
The WNBA is at a crossroads. Letting physical play run wild might seem exciting, but is it worth the cost? Protecting players like Caitlin Clark doesn't just preserve careers, it elevates the game itself. Fans want to see the best athletes perform, not struggle against injuries or unchecked aggression. It's up to us, the fans, to push for better officiating and accountability. Share your thoughts, talk about it, and make noise. If the league really prioritized skill and safety, imagine how high it could soar. The question is, will the WNBA step up and embrace that vision, or let it slip away?